thoughts do not mean anything. My thoughts do not mean anything. This idea will help release me from all I now believe. My thoughts do not mean anything. My thoughts do not mean anything. Now let's look at our thoughts for just a minute. And as you look at your thoughts, say, this thought about, and you name the thought, does not mean anything. Now let's do a few. This thought about does not mean anything. This thought about does not mean anything. Do a few more. This thought does not mean anything. This thought does not, my thoughts do not mean anything. And this thought about, did you name some thoughts and say they do not mean anything? This idea will help release us from all we now believe. My thoughts do not mean anything. My thoughts do not mean anything. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining me today. And we're learning to step aside from the thoughts that we think make up our reality and recognize that they're not good or bad, they're just meaningless. My thoughts do not mean anything. Okay, well, let's take a look at our lesson. And maybe you did just you observed your thoughts, and as you looked at them, you then said, these thoughts about blank do not mean anything, and then went on to the next thought. Learning to explore in our minds today, at any rate. My thoughts do not mean anything. I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from the Ozarks. Here on a nice Wednesday for me, my daughter Rebecca's birthday. Like I told you the other day, it's actually Wednesday, but this is for our lesson for Saturday, January the 10th of 2026. My thoughts do not mean anything. We're reading from the Foundation for Inner Peace version. If you're reading from the original edition, it'll be about the same as we read the lesson. My thoughts do not mean anything. This idea applies to all the thoughts of which you are aware or become aware in the practice periods. The reason the idea is applicable to all of them is that they are not your real thoughts. We have made this distinction before and will do so again. You have no basis for comparison as yet. When you do, you will have no doubt that what you once believed were your thoughts did not mean anything. This is the second time we have used this kind of idea. The form is only slightly different. This time the idea is introduced with my thoughts instead of these thoughts, and no link is made overtly with the things around you. The emphasis is now on the lack of reality of what you think you think. This aspect of the correction process began with the idea that the thoughts of which you are aware are meaningless, outside rather than within, and then stressed their past rather than their present status. Now we're emphasizing that the presence of these thoughts means that you are not thinking. This is merely another way of repeating our earlier statement that your mind is really a blank, a blank thought. To recognize this is to recognize nothingness when you think you see it. As such, it is the prerequisite for vision. Wow. Where we can start realizing that we're not really thinking anything, even though we think we're thinking. It's a blank. Close your eyes for these exercises and introduce them, repeating the idea for today quite slowly to yourself. My thoughts do not mean anything is how you'll start your practice period. And then add, this idea will help to release me from all I now believe. This idea will help to release me from all I now believe. The exercises consist, as before, in searching your mind for all the thoughts that are available to you, without selection or judgment. Try to avoid classification of any kind. In fact, if you find it helpful to do so, you might imagine that you are watching an oddly assorted procession going by, which has little, if any, personal meaning to you. As each one crosses your mind, say, my thought about whatever does not mean anything. And my thought about what else does not mean anything. So he says it's kind of like standing on the side of the road and watching an oddly assorted procession going by, he calls it. You know, you're watching this marching band go by, and then some kind of a clown go by, and then just all these different things go by as you're sitting on the side of the road just watching this parade go by. That's how I like to think of it. That's what you want to kind of like watch your thoughts and just see them go by. Today's thought can obviously serve for any thought that distresses you at any time. So you can use this throughout the day. If you notice the thought that's coming to your mind that's distressing you, you can say, this thought about blank does not mean anything. In addition, 5 practice periods are recommended, each involving no more than a minute or so of mind searching. It is not recommended that this time period be extended, and it should be reduced to half a minute or even less if you experience discomfort. He doesn't want us to experience discomfort. Remember, however, to repeat the idea slowly before applying it specifically, and also to add, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. Wow, major promise in this, isn't it? You're going to be released from all we now believe so that we can have our mind set to be able to have vision come to us. Okay. All right, well, that's what we're to do today. We did one of them as we were opening. We'll do another one when we close. And then you need to do a few more during the day. You know, try for another one when you get up and one when you go to bed for sure. And then, 3 during the day. And maybe you can get 1 or 2 in while we're doing our practice together. Okay, let's go back and take a look at our text reading. And we're in The Meaning of Miracles, Roman numeral 6, The Illusion of Needs. Now, before we read that, let me just remind you that you'll have a little bit more difficulty going through, if you're reading in the original edition, to follow along with me. It can be done, and as you get more and more understanding of, and not that it's even really important, but you might like to know them, where things are at in A Course in Miracles. So just by reading it, you'll kind of get familiar. I'm going to read the Foundation for Inner Peace version. If you're following along, have fun. In the original edition, the first few chapters, they moved things around quite a bit. It's still all there. At least the essence of what we need to learn is in either book. And okay, so let's start with the illusion of needs. Oh, and I was going to tell you that in the description below, I will put the cross-reference guide that you can link on. Maybe make a printed copy of it if you want, or just use it online. But it'll show you what paragraph you're reading and which paragraph or sentence. I can't remember if it shows the paragraphs and the sentence. I think it shows each sentence. You can start with the Foundation for Inner Peace, and it'll show you where the original edition is being, or you can start with the original edition, and it'll show you where the Foundation for Inner Peace sentence is at. Okay? And I'll put that in the description below. The illusion of needs. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. First, that's an important idea, isn't it? You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. No learning is acquired by anyone unless he wants to learn it and believes in some way that he needs it. While lack does not exist in the creation of God, it is very apparent in what you have made. It is in fact the essential difference between them. Lack implies that you would be better off in a state somehow different from the one you are in. Until the separation, which is the meaning of the fall, nothing was lacking. There were no needs at all. Needs arise only when you deprive yourself. You act according to the particular order of needs you establish. This, in turn, depends on your perception of what you are. So the big difference between the way that we are, the way God created us, and the way that we've come to think of ourselves in our separated state is that we lack something. And that in our reality, we don't lack anything. That's the difference in thinking with God and thinking. That's why these thoughts do not mean anything, because they're coming from a place of lack, of this, using the scarcity principle. Paragraph 2. A sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need correct. This sense of separation would never have arisen if you had not distorted your perception of truth and had thus perceived yourself as lacking. The idea of order of needs arose because, having made this fundamental error, you had already fragmented yourself into levels with different needs. As you integrate, you become one, and your needs become one accordingly. Unified needs lead to unified action, because this produces a lack of conflict. Paragraph 3. The idea of orders of need, which follows from the original error that one can be separated from God, requires correction at its own level before the error of perceiving levels at all can be corrected. You cannot behave effectively while you function on different levels. However, while you do, correction must be introduced vertically from the bottom up. This is because you think you live in space, where concepts such as up and down are meaningful. Ultimately, space is as meaningless as time. Both are merely beliefs. Isn't that something? Space and time are simply beliefs. That's why they can be altered, by the way, because your thoughts can change, your beliefs can change. The real purpose of this world is to use it to correct your unbelief. The real purpose of this world is to use it to correct your unbelief. You can never control the effects of fear yourself, because you made fear, and you believe in what you made. In attitude, then, though not in content, you resemble your Creator, who has perfect faith in His creations because He created them. Belief produces the acceptance of existence. Belief produces the acceptance of existence. This is why you can believe what no one else thinks is true. It is true for you because it was made by you. And then the last paragraph, 5. And there's we're going to read this out of 1 John chapter 4 and verse 18. Perfect love casts out fear. Well, this is a key idea that he uses here in this paragraph. And we'll sing this paragraph here after we finish reading. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level and therefore do not exist at all. Catch that. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level. There is no fear in the creative level. That's where love is the only thing there is. Bobanam Kevalam, love is all there is. And therefore does not exist at all. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level and therefore do not exist at all. To whatever extent you're willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution, and this faith is His gift. Well, that's really, so many of our ideas that we hold in this world are based on the scarcity principle, which is basically the fear principle, that we'd be better off in a different state. So that's why this idea today is a good one to work with, that my thoughts about blank do not mean anything. My thoughts do not mean anything. This idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. So anyway, our lesson really goes well with this particular text reading. So let's sing this. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level, and therefore do not exist at all. To whatever extent you are willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. To whatever extent you are willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. What are the beliefs? All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level, and therefore do not exist at all. To whatever extent you are willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love exists. Only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution, and this faith is His grace. This faith is His gift. Believe this and you will be free. Only God established this solution, and this faith is His gift. This faith is His gift. Let's do it again. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love exists. Only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution. And this faith is His gift. This faith is His gift. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level and therefore do not exist at all. To whatever extent you're willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. And in the sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love, but only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution, and this faith is His gift. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me sing that to you. Let's go take a look at, and I'll put the chord changes and stuff if you want to play these little chants, they're just basically reminders that help me to get this into my mind. Okay, my thoughts do not mean anything. This idea will help release me from all I now believe. And then, we'll look at our thoughts and we'll tell ourselves, this thought about blank does not mean anything. I'm just kind of reminding you what we'll do 5 times today. Let's take a look at what's going on around the world. And if you're reading in the original edition, start chapter 2 and read paragraphs 1 through 17. In the Bible, read Matthew chapter 10. In Iyengar Yoga, read pages 18 and 19. And in the course of love, the prelude, read paragraphs 26 through 31. And that's, if you're a new student, don't worry about doing any of those unless you want to. And of course, no one needs to do any of them unless you do want to. But I'm just trying to encourage you, second and third year students, to get a little more clarity so that we can help so many of them. Help people. Okay, Bittersweet Chocolate Day, the Theobroma Cacao Day, Eagle Day, or Save the Eagles Day. Do you know there's over 60 species of eagles worldwide? Houseplant Appreciation Day. Be sure to take good care of your houseplants. Water them, move them around, give them the proper light that they need. League of Nations Day. Cut Your Energy Costs Day, Peculiar People Day, Shareholder Day, and Vision Board Day. And then out of the Seed Savers Exchange, we've got another romaine. It's a Bib romaine. It's a Lactuca sativa, and it's called Winter Density, also known as Crackerel du Midi. This variety bears sweet, crisp leaves and is slow to bolt in the summer heat. It is also cold tolerant. Large, dark green curled leaves with upright 8 to 10 inch head. Bred in England. It's Bib romaine, 55 days to maturity, 27,000 seeds to the ounce. And thank you, Seed Savers Exchange. So and our word from peace today, we're going to take it from the Bosnian people. They're in Bosnia Herzegovina, and it's the word is mir, same as Russian. The mir, and I don't know that I'm pronouncing it properly. Mir. There's supposed to be a T sound in the R. Mir. Maybe it's kind of roll the R. Maybe I'm not sure exactly. Mir. Mir. Try to throw a kind of a soft T in, maybe. Anyway, Mir, the Mir, like the Mir space station, and they're on the Sovereign River, the Bosna River, the Drina River, and the Neretva River. They're in Bosnia. Okay, so Mir be with you. Okay, let's do another one of our little short practices. So get in a comfortable position, close your eyes, and just kind of watch your thoughts. And then you start off by saying, my thoughts do not mean anything. My thoughts do not mean anything. This idea will help release me from all I now believe. This idea will help release me from all I now believe. My thoughts do not mean anything. My thoughts do not mean anything. And now look at all your thoughts. And name each one. And then let it go, like an oddly assorted procession going by as you stand alongside of the road watching this parade go by. The parade of all your thoughts. And then tell yourself as you look at each thought, this thought about does not mean anything. This thought does not mean anything. Do a few more. This thought about does not mean anything. 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 My thoughts do not mean anything. This idea will help release me from all I now believe. My thoughts do not mean anything. Be sure to do your 5 practice periods today. Just take a minute or two. And until tomorrow, be at peace. And remember what we learned in our very first sentence of our text today. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. We'll learn more and more about forgiveness and how it gives us peace. My thoughts do not mean anything. Here.